I do have a conversation that I think we should be having about Odin, right? Now, let's be clear. Odin should never be trusted. Ever. Anyone who trusts Odin clearly doesn't understand the history of Odin. Odin forced his own daughter to become his keeper of hell, right? He literally did it to her when she didn't want to. He forced her. Helia was forced to become the matron of Helheim, even though she didn't want to. This is why she hates him as much as she does. Now, for those of you that don't quite know the story behind all of this, in 9.1, we finally get to see Helia and her part of the Shadowlands. Now, it's introduced to us in a very interesting sort of way, where we discover these golden feathers that lies on the ground. We follow it and we find these Valkyr from Odin, right? They belong to Odin, and you realize that almost immediately because she says in a very strong accent, "Odin bless you," and you're like, wait, because at first I thought, wait, this is a Kyrian. What's a Kyrian doing here? And then very quickly realized, no, these are not the soft-spoken Kyrian we've grown used to. These are the Valkyr from from Odin. So they're sort of being captured by Helia and experimented on. Now Helia is twisting them, basically turning them into her. She's making them into her. So you finally get free and you go to Odin. Odin is livid because you bring a message from Helia to Odin. In the message, Helia basically taunts Odin. Now, all of this to me is extremely interesting. As I'm playing through it on the PTR, I'm instantly going, wait a second, why? And then I remember the whisper, "The Lord of Ravens will turn the key." And I go, hold on, something's up here. Now, before you guys think I'm trying to connect too many dots, when you arrive in Korthia, right, and on Tuesday we'll actually play through the whole PTR intro scenario so that you can see it if you haven't done it already, and we'll sort of speculate on that more on Twitch. But when you play through the intro scenario and you get into Korthia, you're actually told by Talgalan, which is the sort of, what are they called? The denizens of Korthia, if you will. You are sort of told about a prophecy. The prophecy foretold of one whose anima would allow them to leave the Shadowlands, and that this being, this one that would arrive, would be the one who saves the Shadowlands. This is us. We are this being. So there is a prophecy involved in our existence, our coming to the Shadowlands. And as they actually, this Talgalan, he does, he performs some sort of ritual where he's checking your anima, and your anima, he confirms basically that you are the chosen one. You are the one that the prophecy has spoken about. Now, this is where things get really interesting, and that's something that we're going to be touching on a little bit later in this discussion, but I do want you to pay close attention to this. We are now opening a new portal from Korthia straight to Oribos. The difference between this portal and the one in the Maw is this portal will not require us, the player, to ferry souls through. This portal will be open constantly, so everyone can get in and out as much as they want from within this portal. But back to Odin. So there is a prophecy. Now, we must assume that this prophecy is further reaching than just us. This prophecies tend to not come in fucking singular lines, right? There's a great prophecy by which we live our lives. What is the prophecy? Well, it sort of says someone will save us. All right, good prophecy. Let's live our lives by that one fucking line. Prophecies tend to be far-reaching. There is multiple prophecies around multiple things, which can be used as sort of a blueprint for the saving of a specific world. But it stands to reason that as much as they have the prophecy, so too does Zovaal. Now I want to pose this to you. All right, take a look at this.
Nothing escapes the law. Yield to the inevitable.
They've stopped their advance.
Now remember that it was Zovaal, the very first time that artifact responded to us. It was Zovaal who said, a relic of the first ones responding to a mortal? Impossible. Right? That was Zuvaal's words when we first interacted with that relic. Now, what if this interesting wasn't directed at Anduin, but actually directed at us being able to leave the Shadowlands? What if that was the interesting? So from Anduin, because we know that Anduin, even after that, was again tortured and again tested. So what if the interesting, right? No, he said impossible at the first time when we didn't see him like this. He just said a relic of the first ones responding to a mortal. Impossible. This time he said interesting. So in this cinematic, he says interesting.
The light is with me, even here.
Just a quick reference here. This is something that was spoken about. It's been spoken about on the Discord quite heavily, and you guys should all join the Discord, by the way. If you don't have like $5 a month for Patreon, where you get sort of in-depth podcasts and shit, Discord is the best place to be if you want the deepest dives into World of Warcraft lore and crazy theories on the planet. The Discord is crazy busy with people constantly diving as deep as they possibly can into the fucking story of World of Warcraft. An interesting thought that's sort of been popping up all over Discord for a while now is Anduin summoning the light. And the light is with me even here. And it being poised almost in the last podcast that me and Apocalypse did on, when was it again, Apocalypse? We did the podcast on Tuesday, and it was uploaded on Wednesday, I believe, for patrons. In that, myself and Apocalypse actually spoke about Anduin's line here, and that it wasn't so much a affirmation, but rather doubt. Remember, Anduin is sort of struggling with doubt right now. Doubt in the light, doubt in himself, the void that we know at the end of Shadows Rising that sort of collected within the palm of his hand. Anduin is no longer as convinced of the power of the light as he used to be. So the light is with me even here. May in fact be a line of almost hopefulness, right? So he is hoping that the light is still with him there, rather than knowing it.
Go, champion! Go!
Interesting.
What if that interesting isn't about Anduin, but about us? That would mean that the jailer knows about the prophecy. He is well aware of the prophecy. Now that means that he could be using that prophecy for himself. And I just want to point out what a bad fucking idea it is to be using to open a portal from the Shadowlands to Oribos that everyone can move in and out of. Right? So we are no longer required. You can just freely move as much as you want, right? So that is that first and foremost is sort of a very big thing, in my opinion. Something that he and his armies could too. Mika, that's exactly the point. If Zovaal manages to get to that portal, to that relic, him and his armies can move through it because the link has now permanently been established to Oribos from within the mall. So now he can do it pretty much easily without any sort of problems. But back to Odin. Odin now sends his Vrykul to, or his Valkyr to the Shadowlands to help us defeat Helia. This is Odin's sort of plan. He wants to destroy Helia. But I can't help but hear in the back of my mind the whisper. The Lord of Ravens shall turn the key. And then we go, of course, once again, just very quickly, if I can fucking find it, to these chains. These chains could be a mistake, right? It could 100% be a fault. In the screenshots, the chains are sort of out of place. But from what I can see here, if those chains actually belong inside the veil, then like I told you guys in the previous discussion that we had, then that means that these chains around death also, and you can see the chains around death, they also exist around reality. So those chains literally, when Sylvana said this world is a prison, she was being as literal as humanly possible. In other words, the chains around reality, reality itself is chained. It is imprisoned to ensure that death remains sort of knocked down, locked down, incapable of actually interfering with the world. But that also means that this veil blocks out all of the other cosmological forces, right? They have a hard time moving in and out of reality because of this veil, right? So this veil that exists also holds them out. Now that is where, as far as I'm concerned, Odin comes in. Now, to understand Odin, we have to look at what his purpose was when he was built, right? Gyarados, of course, I could be reading the picture wrong. You could be completely right. But if you're telling me that those chains right at the top there, high above the fucking sky, and there are multiple pictures where the chains are inside the veil, is from the jailer trying to reach her, the jailer should be somewhere down here. This is literally the skybox. So of course I could be reading it wrong. I've never said that I have all of the fucking answers. You could see something else and you're perfectly entitled to see whatever it is that you think you're seeing. This is simply speculation. However, the speculation that reality has been locked up is not a new speculation. These ruins are domination ruins and they are literally all around reality. These chains around death on the cosmological map drawn by the Titans, these chains are not new. They are not a misrepresentation. Death is quite literally in this picture chained. So, could I be reading this wrong? Of course. Of course. I've never said that I'm right 100% of the time. I don't even pretend to be right 100% of the time. But I do believe that even if that picture is wrong and I'm interpreting it wrong, I'm right about the interpretation of the whole of the story. Which again, I'm about, let's say 10% right. I don't actually... I speculate. I don't promise to know the future of World of Warcraft at all. That said, To understand Odin, we first must understand why he was made. Odin is a Titan Keeper. He was meant to keep Azeroth safe. I think it's clear right now, and can anyone in chat disagree with this? Odin went above and beyond the scope of his original creation. Odin started doing a couple of things that he wasn't actually supposed to do. So first and foremost, Odin builds himself a heaven and a hell. In order to do this, Odin creates for himself a rather insane relationship with Muazala, which we later know will fuck him up because his eye will literally be lost to the jailer. So Odin sort of believes himself more important than what he is supposed to be. He has heightened himself. It's almost as if he has ambitions that is a little bit, shall we say, richer than what he was supposed to have. Most of the other Titans, whilst they've gone through sort of corruption and they've gone through maybe, bad stints, they've sort of stuck to the general idea, right? They've stuck to the general idea of what the universe is meant to be, right? And what their place within the universe is meant to be. Not Odin. Odin dreamt bigger. He wanted more for himself. And now he is coming to put Helia down. But what if in doing so, he actually unlocks the universe? What if he truly does then turn the key? And he does become the one that ushers in the age of the void. Is it possible? Yeah. Probable? Maybe not, right? There's still a lot that we don't know. There's still a hell of a lot that we should know. Gyarados, no, we've already checked. One of the runes matches that of the floor in Torghast, but the others don't. So this one matches the bottom rune on the floor, but the others don't match. So the others do not fit into that. So we've already checked that, but I like the way you're thinking about it. Because, that was one of the first things we wanted to check, is if it actually matches these ruins on the map. At the end of the day, there's very little that we know right now. Yeah, there's very little that we can 100% say will be true or will happen. The one thing I know is Odin is not coming to the Shadowlands out of plan. Now, before you think, Akelon, it could just be that he's going to win, I'll put it to you this way. Despite all of our efforts, despite everything, the jailer has succeeded every step of the way. We literally tried to stop him in Ardenweald. And all of it was a misdirect. All of it. He wanted us to attack Sylvanas. He wanted us to focus all of our energy on Sylvanas as he was taking the sigil. He knew where that sigil was regardless. So the jailer clearly is playing one hell of a game. Right? Much bigger than we could even imagine at this point. He's playing 5D chess and the rest of us are playing fucking Scrabble. Right? We genuinely have no idea what the jailer is up to and just how far ahead he is thinking. I don't think Zovaal shows up himself, because we do have confirmation that the jailer himself is still incapable of leaving the maw, while the others can, right? So his servants and some of his armies can actually leave the maw. He himself is still chained to the maw, so he can't get out yet. But he definitely is going to try, right? And he will eventually get out, and there might be an argument that Odin is the one that unlocks him. So Odin is the one that sort of saves him, because another question came to my mind. why did the jailer use Odin's eye to become his eye? Surely he could have used anything else. I mean, he does have those smaller domination eyes. He could have just built a bigger eye to become his eye. Why did he specifically decide to use Odin's eye? And then, of course, we have to ask the question, and we need to understand this. Sylvanas tried to corrupt Ayer. Jesus, that's a long time ago, right? Sylvanas tried to corrupt Ayer all the way back in Legion. So the jailer has wanted Odin part of this fight for a long time. The jailer's been setting up the Odin's involvement in this fight all the way back in Legion. So Odin coming to the Shadowlands is not an accident. He needs Odin for something. For what exactly, we don't know. But he requires Odin for something. And Odin is a Titan Keeper. If anything, they're stupid. Right? They are stupid. So he is most likely going to step in it and cause a lot of shit that could have been avoided if he just stayed the fuck out of it. Helia is already riling him up, making him angry, trying to get him to act out of malice. He's already turned some of the Valkyr into his wrath, granting them his power to become his wrath and his valor. So whatever game is being played here, this has been a long time coming. Yes, I believe that Zovaal is luring Odin into the Shadowlands. He tried to do it with Ayer. If Sylvanas managed to capture Ayer, that would have been that, right? Ayer would have been captured and Odin would have reacted by coming after her, because remember, Ayer is the main Valkyr. She is the mother of all the Valkyr. She is the one that creates them on Odin's behalf, right? So she is after Helia. When Helia got tossed into Helheim, Ayer became the big dick, right? At the side of Odin. Now Ayer, if Ayer was sort of captured, Odin would have had no other option than to fucking go, right? And save her. Of course, that failed. So he needs another way to do it. This time, he's doing it through Helia, because he knows how much she hates him. And Ruslan, I know what Odin's eye does in Norse mythology. I read your message earlier. So I do read your messages, guys, as I'm doing these theories. I try to keep up with what chat is saying. But remember, this is still WoW. So it's not necessarily that this is that this is why Odin's eye was necessary. But even if that is why he wanted Odin's eye specifically, the fact that he wants Odin back, right? That sort of signals something interesting is going on. And there is something big that is coming. And it seems like Odin is an integral part of that.